Chapter 171. Protecting her. Seeing her beautiful smile, William Walton smirked. "I'm here." She naturally pulled his wrist, leading him through the door. The moment William Walton appeared, both Earl and Fiona were stunned, because they recognized the man in front of them. Her uncle and aunt were also very surprised, because they felt that this young man was too handsome. She pulled William Walton to the table and introduced him. "Uncle, Auntie, Earl and Fiona, it's my boyfriend, William Walton. These two are my uncle and aunt that I mentioned to you before. This is the Earl, and that is his girlfriend, Fiona." William Walton nodded to everyone. "It's our first time meeting each other. Nice to meet you all." Hello. Come, William, come and sit down." With that, Earl's mother returned to the kitchen to get the tableware. She couldn't help but smile. "William," Fiona covered her lips and said softly in shock, "Oh God, is that really Mr. Hot Walton? Am I wrong?" Earl was also sizing up William Walton. He did not expect that Laura's boyfriend was actually the famous Mr. Walton in Philadelphia. Seeing that both his son and Fiona were frightened, Earl's mother was puzzled. She could understand why Fiona was being so rude, but why her son acted abnormally too. She then smiled towards Fiona. "Sister Fiona, now you can relax. I really have a boyfriend." Hearing Laura's words, William Walton raised his eyebrows. No wonder she called him. Looked like she had just been questioned by Earl's girlfriend. Fiona looked at her and nodded immediately. Earl's father came out and gave the knife and fork to William Walton. At the side, Earl's mother, who didn't understand the situation, asked, "William, what kind of job are you doing in Walton's group? How about your parents?" William Walton smirked. "I'm in charge of management in Walton's group. My parents are no longer here. I have a big brother, a younger brother, and a younger sister." "Ah, then the financial burden on your family is quite heavy," William Walton said indifferently. "It's not too bad. They are easy to support." She thought for a moment and said, "Then did you buy a house in Philadelphia? Do you have a car? If you get married in the future, will your siblings live with you?" "I have houses and cars. My little brother is living with me now, and my sister is studying abroad." "Then your house, where do you live? Laura works in the university. Will it be convenient for her to commute from her workplace to your house?" Laura felt a little embarrassed. She didn't expect Auntie to examine him so carefully. Earl quickly replied, "Mom." He shook his head at his mother. Earl's mother said, "Child, I was just casually asking." William Walton smiled calmly. "It's all right, Auntie. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Since I'm with Laura, I'm naturally prepared to accept anyone's questioning gaze. I have several estates in this city, most of them located near the mountain. Although my brother lives with me, but we each live in our own house and will not affect each other's lives. It is not considered close to the place where Laura works, but I arrange a driver to send her to work and pick her up." Hearing William Walton's words, the Earl's mother was struck. Wasn't the Central Mountain Roads Villa area? And he had several houses? Sounded like he was rich. Opposite of them, Fiona said anxiously, "Auntie, stop asking. This Mr. Walton is Walton's Group's CEO. "Huh?" the Earl's mother exclaimed. She sized up William Walton, the CEO of Walton's Group? How could he have become Laura's boyfriend? William Walton smiled at her. "Auntie, no need to be shocked. I am the CEO of Walton's Group, but I am no different from you." As he spoke, he used his fork to pick up dishes for Laura. "Didn't you say that you miss your auntie's food a lot? You should take advantage of this opportunity to eat more." Seeing William Walton being so gentle to her, they were at a loss and didn't know what to say. She pursed her lips and looked at William Walton. "You should eat too. This is family taste. You can't eat it every day." "Then I have to thank you. I was able to eat such good food because of you," Fiona said in bewilderment. "Miss Green, how did you get to know Mr. Stray at Walton?" "I used to be his younger brother's home tutor. I got to know him very well. Later on, his younger brother entered our university and became my student." Fiona's eyes were filled with envy. She thought Laura was an ugly duckling, but actually she was a swan. However, she didn't believe it. What kind of person was Mr. Walton? He is currently in a relationship with her, but in the future, he would dump her. It was probably because she knew about this, that she had just said that without marriage, she could not be sure of the future. Fiona raised her eyebrows. "A few days ago, I saw the gossip between Mr. Walton and Miranda on the news. Even though you denied it, my colleagues and I always thought that Mr. Walton, you and Miranda were a couple." William Walton said calmly, "Gossips and scandals were boring. Someone used them to achieve their goals. Since I said that they were fake news, you shouldn't talk about it anymore." These words caused Laura to feel slightly happy in their hearts. The enmity Fiona had towards her was truly unfathomable. Fiona was embarrassed. Mainly because no one would have thought that Mr. Walton would actually be with a common people. A common people? So, in your eyes, you divide people into different levels? Then which level do you belong to? William Walton's voice was calm, but inexplicably, it gave people a sense of pressure. That's not what I meant. No matter what you mean, if you have some questions or comments about us, that's your own business. Please don't ask such immoral questions. In my eyes, I am the same as Laura. We are equal. Being my girlfriend is not an honor for her, but it's an honor for me to be her boyfriend. You shouldn't put the cart before the horse just because I am rich. Love has nothing to do with wealth." William Walton picked up a piece of fish, shaved it clean and placed it on her plate, then said softly, "This fish is delicious." She pursed her lips and said, "Then you should eat more. After all, the fish that my uncle cooked is not something that you can eat at any time." No one opened their mouths to help Fiona look for a way out of this mess. After all, just now, her appearance was truly disgusting. Fiona turned her head to glance at Earl, but Earl ignored her. She dejectedly said, "Then we are truly honored. I wonder if we will have the chance to attend your wedding in the future." William Walton remained calm. "Earl and his parents can definitely do it. But you, I am not sure. After all, you are not their family member yet." Chapter 172. He really had a big heart, Fiona frowned. Was Mr. Walton cursing her to break up with Earl? Although she was unhappy in her heart, she did not dare show it. She only smiled. Indeed, a couple would possibly break up even after getting married. "Are you sure that you and Miss Green will get married?" William Walton turned his head, and his eyes looked straight at her. "As long as she is willing, we can get married tomorrow, but she always thinks that she is too young, and she wants me to wait. Oh right, uncle, aunt, as relatives of Laura, please help me. She is really stubborn." Earl's mother looked at her and laughed. "Yes, this child is very stubborn, even when she is young. Laura, once fate arrives, you should marry as soon as you can. Then you can have kids and enjoy the joy of life as soon as possible." William Walton nodded his head. "I agree with that." She patted his arm. "You'd better eat properly. Don't say any more." After she finished talking to him, she turned to Earl's mother and said, "Auntie, there's no need to rush about the marriage. I just graduated this year. I want to wait until my work is stable. What's more, I will also test him." Earl's mother shook her head and laughed. Earl raised his wine cup and said to William Walton, "Mr. Walton, congratulations." William Walton smirked and raised his cup to clink with him. He took a sip. "Thank you." He asked, "I heard from Laura that you work at Commercial Building?" "Yes, I just returned back from headquarters to Philadelphia, and I was responsible for the management of Philadelphia branch's shopping malls." William Walton nodded his head. "Then your financial conditions can be considered very good. In my opinion, an outstanding man should be cautious and picky when he chooses girlfriend. Don't make wrong decisions and look for trouble for the rest of his life." His words were very cryptic. However, everyone present was able to understand what he meant. She snuck a glance at Fiona. The arrogance on her face from before had completely disappeared. It could be seen that she was now very depressed. After all, no one would be able to stand being looked down upon to such an extent. After eating, William Walton bid farewell with Laura. Once they left, Earl took Fiona to the entrance of the residential complex. He angrily asked, "What are you doing here today? What kind of attitude is this? Do you want to fight with me? What? Do you intend to accept Mr. Walton's suggestion? Do you want to abandon me and choose another woman?" "Earl, don't be mistaken. I am the person who has accompanied you through the hardest period of 4 years. But you've changed. Fiona, you've really changed. In the past, you were meek and understanding. You never treated me like an item. But what about you now? I've already said it countless times. I'm not the kind of man who will cheat. Have you ever trusted me? All the women who appear at my side, as long as they are unmarried, you have to put up barbs to humiliate them. But have you thought about how I feel? Because of you, in the eyes of others, I am just a shameless playboy, a trash. I know that you accompanied me for 4 years and wasted 4 years of great youth on me, but I never let you down. When I proposed to you, you said that you wanted to marry later." Fiona's face was full of grievance as she cried, "So, what do you mean now? Do you want to break up with me?" Earl sighed. "No, I was only reminding you to stop being like a madman. Other than shopping, you only look at me every day. Like this, you really make me feel tired. I don't want us to fail after spending 4 years together." After saying that, he turned around and walked to his car. "Come on, I'll take you home." Fiona walked forward and spread out her arms as she blocked his path. "I asked you to go to the movies with me, but you said that you didn't have time, and in the end, I came to look for you and found that you had brought other women back home. You would rather be with others than me? Could it be that I am wrong to be angry?" "That was a guest invited by my parents. It was my sister who was very close to me in the past. We haven't seen each other for more than 10 years. Could it be that it's wrong for me to go home and reminisce with my parents? But you didn't tell me. Fiona, I'm a human, not a pet, and not your slave. Whether it's right now or in the future, I have my own privacy, and as I said before, I won't betray you, but this doesn't mean that I have to report everything to you. Can you respect me a little?" "All right, I respect you. You can stay at home with your parents. I'll go myself," Fiona said as she forcefully pushed him away and turned to leave. After Fiona left, he stood in place and sighed. He understood that the relationship between them had long since deteriorated, but he was unwilling to give it up. He was afraid that he would only realize that everything was wrong at the very end. He took out his cell phone and sent a text message to Laura. When she received the message, she was talking about Earl's them with William Walton. She took out her phone, opened the message, and took a look. She pursed her lips and said, "Earl is apologizing to me. Because of his girlfriend?" Laura nodded her head. She looked at him. You've probably choked her to death today. Should I not do that? Did she really think that everyone in this world should spoil her? She chuckled as she looked at him. However, you look quite handsome when you scolded her today. If it wasn't for my face, I would also want to ridicule her for a few words. What, you cry out for your brother Earl? Seeing that he was about to get jealous again, she quickly said, No, I hate this kind of people. She doesn't cherish her own boyfriend, but doubts all the women in the world. She thinks everyone would love her boyfriend. Then do you have any intention of her boyfriend? Nope. William Walton smirked and hugged him. That's right, you have such an outstanding boyfriend. If you're still thinking about other people's man, then you are worse than her. What's her name? Fiona. Right, you're worse than Fiona. She said, The show is over, my dear. I'm sorry, I'm an actor. Once I'm in the act, it'll be hard for me to go back to the real life, he said, as he held her shoulders naturally. Laura, don't cross the river and destroy the bridge. I'm still your boyfriend after all. She smiled in a speechless way. Don't laugh. Remember, from now on, your boyfriend's name is William Walton. She looked at him with a warm smile. I have some serious matters to discuss with you. Yeah, I got it. Let me hear, what's more serious than me being your boyfriend? I know you're coming to the school to teach a lesson. Do you know how many people have signed up? Is there even a need to think about it? There must be a lot of them, and most of them are women. I am sure that over 70% of the women have evil intentions towards me. He already knew, yet he still dared to go to the den of wolves? He really had a big heart. Chapter 173, Following Days. On Sunday, Walton family's Jack Walton and Carol Wright returned together. At noon, Benjamin came back from school to eat together. When Benjamin returned, he was wearing a ball shirt and was covered in sweat. The moment he entered the courtyard, Carol Wright looked at him and said helplessly, Benjamin, why did you come back like this again? Don't you feel uncomfortable with wet clothes? I was in a hurry to come back and eat with you guys, he said as he grabbed his clothes and sniffed. It's pretty smelly. I'm going to wash now. I'll be quick and come back in 10 minutes. After Benjamin left like a gust of wind, Carol Wright shook her head speechlessly. She spoke to Laura. I can still remember how Benjamin looked like when he was a kid. How time flies. In a blink of an eye, he's already a university student. She pursed her lips and nodded. That's right. No one could grab the time. Carol Wright looked at her with a bit of envy in her eyes. Right now is a good time for you. I'm actually quite envious of your age. Miss Wright, don't say that. You had experienced youth too. Carol Wright sighed, raised her head and looked towards the sky. Yes, I used to be young too. When I was at your age, I was also very happy. That was in my life, the happiest time of all. How I wish that time could go back. Seeing her sad eyes, she suddenly thought of William Walton. The happiness in Carol Wright's words should be related to William Walton. That's right. Carol Wright seemed to have thought of something as she asked, During this period of time, has William had any connections with the Anderson family? After thinking about it, she shook her head. I don't think so. You don't know either? What happened? She asked. A few days ago, when I was having afternoon tea with a few friends, they said that the young miss of the Anderson family and her mother were telling people everywhere that the Anderson family and Walton family are getting married. Laura was a bit surprised. Marriage? Miss Green, have you heard of it? She shook her head. I've never heard of it. Carol Wright thought for a moment. It's normal for you to not have heard of it. After all, you are not someone from our circle. Did he mention it to you? She calmly shook her head. No. That's weird. He definitely knew it. How could he be so calm? Even if he did not come forward to solve the problem, he did not tell you, because he hates the Anderson family to the bones. He should not have tolerated such things. Faintly, she replied. Miss Wright, why does he hate Anderson family so much? What deep grievances do the Anderson family and the Walton family have with each other? Carol Wright looked at him. Did William never tell you about this before? She shook her head. No. Carol Wright slightly raised her eyebrows and said with some surprise, How could that be? I really don't know. You should know about it, right? Yes. Carol Wright was silent for a moment, then said, Since William did not tell you about this matter, then he definitely had his own considerations. Since he did not say anything, naturally, I should not have overstepped my boundaries and told you about it. Miss Green, don't think too much. I think maybe he will tell you later when your relationship is better. Give him some time, okay? When Carol Wright said this, some feelings of unease appeared in her heart. William Walton said that he liked her, but Carol Wright knew all his secrets. So what about her? Nothing. The Anderson family and the Walton family are going to be married. What's going on? She frowned and looked at William Walton, who was seated by the window in the living room. If this was true, she would definitely leave William Walton, as far as she could go. Seeing Laura fall into silence, Carol Wright said somewhat sorrowfully, Did I hurt your heart by telling you this? Miss Green, don't misunderstand. I'm telling you this purely because I want to tell you that Anderson family is doing something and that you should be careful. After all, I heard that the matriarch of the Anderson family does have some methods. Laura smiled. No, I'm fine. I was distracted a while ago and was thinking about other things. There were some things that I wouldn't force him to do and would give him time to do. Since I chose him, I will believe in him and support him. Carol Wright pursed her lips, looking at William Walton, who was in the living room chatting with Jack Walton through the window, her eyes filled with love. At the door, Benjamin came back. He was already much cleaner now. Seeing the two of them still sitting in the courtyard, he came over, pulled a chair over and sat down. You two are really talkative. I've already finished bathing and changed my clothes, and you're still chatting. Carol Wright patted his leg. Laura and I have been chatting for the entire morning. Oh God, I've only heard about the disagreements between women. It's rare to see someone like you two get along so well. Carol Wright laughed. So, you must find a wife who is easy to get along with, otherwise, the two of us will work together to bully her. No, I don't know if Laura will bully her or not, but you definitely won't. She rolled her eyes at him. You little rascal, am I that detestable? Don't you always bully me? If you don't want me to think badly of you, can't you treat me better? Laura was speechless. She raised her hand and slapped him. You talk too much. Benjamin smiled mischievously as he moved closer to Carol Wright. Carol Wright, did you see that? Laura is just a tigress. Maybe she relied on this power to capture William. Upon hearing his words, Laura became even angrier. She stood up and was about to beat him up. Benjamin got up and fled. The two of them were in the courtyard, chasing each other, while the noise attracted the attention of the two men in the living room. Jack Walton looked at the courtyard and raised his eyebrows. This house is different from before. It has become more vivid. William Walton smirked. It's indeed much better than before. So, finding a reliable woman at home is really very important. William Walton's line of sight was always trained on Laura. He did not notice that, at the same time, Carol Wright was secretly watching him. In the courtyard, Carol Wright tightened her grip on the coffee cup. She found William Walton's expression had changed. She put down her coffee cup and smiled at the two of them. All right, stop messing around. Everyone is watching. Laura stared at Benjamin. You brat. Just wait. Benjamin stuck out his tongue at her. He did not have the appearance of the aloof and cold male god from school at all. Carol Wright patted Benjamin, who wasn't too far away from him. We are chatting. You don't need to get involved. Go find Jack and William. Benjamin flicked his forefinger and middle finger at the side of his temple. As you command. He turned and ran away. He sat down again, took a deep breath, and drank a few mouthfuls of water. Carol Wright laughed. Seems like you have a good relationship with Benjamin. After all, he is my student, so we spend more time together. Carol Wright looked at her. Actually, I really envy you. Looking at you, I can't help but think of myself from a few years ago. At that time, I was also so happy. Chapter 174. Mr. Walton was about to use his most powerful technique. Looking at her, she always felt that she had a stock that made her feel uncomfortable. After some careful consideration, she concluded that this was probably the aura of a resentful wife. Her eyes, her tone, her voice, all seemed to be filled with hidden bitterness. She was actually quite curious about what had happened between her and William Walton all those years ago. Why did she, who loved Mr. Walton, not get together with him? Miss Wright, everyone has to walk forward and look ahead. This is because the effort that people put in is always for the future. It can't be for the past. Carol Wright laughed. Miss Green, you are a teacher, so you're really good at these big things. Her lips pursed. These not big things. It's just that. I said it because it came to me. They smiled at each other and drank their coffee. Benjamin entered the living room and sat beside his two brothers. Oh, the two of you sure know how to find a good place. Sit here and your wives can be seen quite clearly. William Walton looked at him. What were you arguing with Laura about just now? Benjamin laughed. I was teasing her. William Walton said to him, childish. Jack Walton said from the side. Actually, this is pretty good. In the past, our family was in a lifeless state. I always felt that we had a weakness for human emotions. To be able to hear such a carefree laughter here today, I feel like it's better to release myself. William Walton shook his head. This brat is good at making trouble. Why didn't you say that your wife isn't at a disadvantage? Of course, she can't be at a disadvantage. If she is, I will definitely revenge. Jack Walton, listen, is this still William? Jack Walton smiled indifferently. When a man falls in love, it's always like this. William Walton smiled, but didn't comment. Jack Walton changed his direction and said, however, you still have to be careful. When we meet up late, people said that the mother and daughter of the Anderson family were talking about the marriage between us and the Anderson family. When did you start making connections with that Betty Anderson? What? Benjamin stood up excitedly. Anderson family is so shameless. Will our Walton family marry her? Are they dreaming that Betty Anderson wants to be compatible with William? She is annoying, but luckily Laura and the Anderson family have. William Walton looked at him, tilted his head, and interrupted him. Don't compare Laura to Anderson family. Benjamin realized that he had said the wrong thing and changed his words. I hate them. William, did you provoke that Betty Anderson? William Walton remained calm. It's not a big deal. I just want to show my respect to Grandpa. Old General? Jack Walton was puzzled. What does this have to do with him? He owes the old man from the Anderson family a favor and has returned it in my name. Benjamin was unhappy. Then what do we do about it? Are we going to suffer such a loss? William Walton smirked. I have my own plans. For this matter, you guys don't have to worry about it, nor do you need to reveal it. Let them do what they want. I'll teach them a lesson. Seeing his expression, Benjamin could not help but shiver. William, what are you going to do? Why are you asking so much? When the time comes, won't you naturally know as well? Benjamin was displeased. I am curious. Jack Walton was extremely calm. Benjamin, you have to be calm no matter what happens. Don't forget you're a man from the Walton family. He was speechless. Could it be that the men of Walton family couldn't just do whatever they wanted? He didn't want to live with such depression. He thought of his big brother, looked at Jack, and thought of his William. He kept having the feeling that the Walton family men were carrying a heavy shackle for themselves. In the past, which one of them was happy? Now, because of Laura, William had become somewhat human. He felt that this was pretty good. Of course, if Laura and the Anderson family were not related, then it would be perfect. During lunchtime, William Walton was unceasingly picked food for Laura. Benjamin could not bear to watch any longer, and said unhappily, William, does Laura not have a hand? Can't you just let her pick up the dishes herself? You talk too much. What I mean is, I am single now, and I don't have a girlfriend. Please care about my feelings. You don't have a girlfriend. That's your problem. Why do we have to endure our feelings and accommodate you because of your problem? Benjamin clenched his teeth, holding on to his own heart, his face full of injuries. You are not my brother. On this point, I also think that it's extremely possible. Benjamin's mouth twitched. Could it be that in this world single men have no chance of survival? In the future, when there's a family banquet at home, you're not allowed to call me. I'm no longer part of you, so I'm angry. After picking up the dish, she stuffed it into his bowl. All right. Come. Stop complaining. Hurry up and eat. I'll give you some food. Benjamin raised his eyebrows and looked at William Walton. See, William, I also have someone care about me. William Walton was displeased. He looked at Laura. I haven't seen you give me food yet. She frowned. Don't lie. The night before yesterday when we ate in Earl's family, the person who served you food, wasn't it me? William Walton pushed his plate in front of her. You have to care about your boyfriend every day, not just once in a while. She looked at him in silence, then gave him some food. All right, let's eat. William, Laura took the initiative to give food to me. William Walton stared at her. Indeed. Laura was embarrassed. She patted his head. I'm caring for a lovelorn child. Stop boasting. Eat good and eat quickly. William Walton mocked. The corner of Benjamin's mouth twitched. He wanted to laugh at his brother, but the one who suffered was him. Opposite to him, Jack Walton looked at Carol Wright and smiled. Do you feel that, after not coming back for a few days, our home has become lively? Carol Wright pursed her lips and laughed, but did not say a word. After dinner, the five of them sat together and chatted for a while, mainly about Benjamin's studies. After 1 o'clock, Jack Walton and Carol Wright left first. Benjamin returned to school and played ball with his classmates. She had originally planned to take an afternoon nap, and coincidentally, William Walton had also entered the room. She asked, I heard that Betty Anderson is going to get engaged to you? William Walton raised his eyebrows. Did Carol tell you about this already? Carol? She pursed her lips. That's your sister-in-law. Of course, she definitely wouldn't show it. When are you guys going to get engaged? Remember to send me an invitation card. Although I don't like Anderson family, but for your sake I am still willing to join in the fun. Hearing this jealous tone, William Walton was in a good mood. All right, at that time I will definitely invite you. Furthermore, you shouldn't be able to wait too long for this day. She was stunned. Was it true? Chapter 175. Listen to my heartbeat. How fast is it? Seeing her surprised expression, he pinched the tip of her nose. Aren't you going to sleep? You go out, she said, pointing to the door. Why? I want to rest as well. I am determined not to get involved with Betty Anderson's man. Get out. Are you angry? His eyes were slightly raised. I'll let you out. He was surprised. Was she really angry? You're such a petty woman. Weren't you the one who angered me first? I was just teasing you with your own words. How can you still be so angry? With a gentle snort, she turned around and pulled the blanket over herself, refusing to see him. William Walton jumped onto the bed and hugged her from behind. She was struggling, but he held her even tighter. She angrily shouted, Let go of me. No. William Walton, you're so hateful. You're not allowed to kiss me. He kissed the back of her head. You are so liverish. A kiss from your boyfriend is enough to make your hair stand on end. Go look for Betty Anderson. Didn't Betty Anderson want to get engaged to you? She's your girlfriend. William Walton turned over and walked in front of her, then looked at her lovingly. Okay, I'm wrong. I don't get engaged to her. She is one of Anderson family. I need to teach her a lesson. I will never marry her in my life. Don't worry, I will only marry you. He pulled her into his arms. Listen to my heart, how fast it is. We've known each other for so long, and even after seeing you for so long, my heart still starts to race. The one I like is you. Why would I marry a fake face woman? She blushed. Why did this man know how to coax her? Was his mouth covered in honey? However, no matter how well he said it, she could still recall what Carol Wright had said today. She bit her lips and asked after a moment of hesitation, "What grudges does Walton family have with the Anderson family?" William Walton became silent. After a long while, he ruffled her hair. "Let's not talk about these troublesome matters. Aren't you tired? Sleep for a while. I'll accompany you." Her breath became heavier. He said he loved her more and more, but after so long, the love he had accumulated for her wasn't as strong as the love he had for Carol Wright when he was young. So, his secret wouldn't be shared with her. Thinking of this, she felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. This week was about to finish. At noon on Friday, she went to the cafeteria to eat. Today, there were extremely few people in the cafeteria. No, it should be said that the number of female teachers today was exceptionally few. Puzzled, she said to Mia, "Why are there so few people in the dining hall today?" Mia whispered, "All the female single teachers under the age of 30 are preparing." After thinking about it, Laura asked with suspicion, "Don't tell me that they are preparing for Mr. Walton's class this afternoon?" "Of course." Mia could not help but laugh. "This afternoon, our school will definitely be even more lively than during the school anniversary." Laura shook her head and smiled. "Actually, I can already imagine that this afternoon, in the multimedia classroom, there would be a scene of a competition." Mia lowered his eyes and laughed. "Do you want to join in the fun this afternoon?" Go. "Why not? I'm curious about what this Mr. Walton will talk about." Mia shrugged her shoulders. "Good, I also want to go and have a look. Let's go together later." "Sure, let's go back and have a rest." She leaned on the table and slept for a while. Seeing that both Sabrina and Gary had not come back yet, she asked in bewilderment, "Huh? Why Sabrina and Gary are still not back?" Mia said, "Just now Sabrina sent me a message. She is already in the multimedia classroom. Now there are a lot of people over there. We can't squeeze in anymore." "Ah, was I wrong about the timing? Mr. Walton's class, didn't it start at 3 p.m.? "It's starting at 3 o'clock. Many people afraid of not having seats, so they have already gone to line up." She looked at the time and said, "It's already 2 o'clock. Should we go over now?" "We'll have to wait an hour. Let's go later." She nodded. All right then." At 2:50, Laura held Mia's arm and, while chatting, arrived at the school building. When they reached the hallway of the multimedia classroom on the first floor of the school building, both Laura and Mia unconsciously stopped in their tracks. This was what was happening. Now the corridor was packed. The two of them stood outside the crowd and looked into the multimedia classroom. They were all heads and were pitch black. From afar, they looked a little scary. Laura could not help but exclaim in surprise, "Mia, you are right. It's even more lively than the school anniversary." Mia raised her eyebrows. "No wonder Sabrina told me that she can't talk to me anymore. It's so crowded that she can't even breathe." She shook her head. "Do you want to go in?" Mia looked at her. "What do you think?" Why don't we stop? It's too crowded." "Then forget it. Let's go back to the office and do some serious work." She nodded. Right after the two of them left, William Walton appeared behind them, surrounded by more than 10 bodyguards. At 4:05, her cell phone rang. She took out her phone to look. It was William Walton. It seemed that he had finished the first lesson of his life. She got up and left the office. She picked up her cell phone and said, "Hello. Where are you?" "Me? Guess." William Walton was a little unhappy. "Why didn't you come to listen to my class? Didn't I tell you to come and listen to my class?" "I'm here." Nonsense. There was a sea of people. She didn't believe that he would be able to find her in the crowd. "Why would I lie to you? I'm really in the multimedia classroom. There are too many people, and I'm so crowded that I can't even breathe." "Laura, who taught you to lie?" She felt guilty. "Sigh, just because you can't see me doesn't mean that I wasn't there. With so many people, you can't find me either." "Oh? Since you're in the classroom, why didn't you answer me when I said your name?" "You said her name? Didn't he let the whole school know that they knew each other?" She shouted. "Why are you muttering my name in front of so many people? Are you crazy?" "Laura, you want me to punish you, right?" She quickly covered her mouth with her hand. This bastard was trying to trick her. "I was there. I went with another teacher in our office. But there's really too many people. There's a sea of people outside the window and in the corridor. We can't squeeze through it all." "Then why didn't you come earlier like everyone else?" "I still have a lot of work to do." William Walton was unhappy. "I think you don't want to attend my class at all."